Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Oh, hold on, everyone. Is my camera on? Yes, it is. And the thing's on. I'm sorry. I know, like, it looks like I've got, like, I'm all red under the chin. I am. I didn't bother to put on any makeup. Well, maybe a lot of you don't know. I am just coming off of a very, very bad bout of COVID. And COVID is not the most beautifying of sicknesses. And you get all snotty and nasty, and it dries all over your face, and it irritates you. So I'm all dry here from being all drooly. So let's just start this with just, because I know some of you are curious. I guess this latest variant doesn't go into your chest, because I've got a 93 oxygen blood saturating rating, baby. That's great, right? But it's all on my throat. It's all here up. And my throat got so swollen at some point. This is going to be TMI. This is going to be gross. My throat got so swollen at some point, I couldn't swallow my own spit. It hurt too bad, and it was too closed up. I had to walk around with a spit cup, and it was dehydrating me. We had to have medics come in, and yeah, the pink chin of liberty. We had to have medics come in and give me an IV because it was the only way to get any kind of fluids and nutrients in me. But now, as you can tell, it's not up to speed, but at least I can talk. And I've got a tiny little, this is a lot for me to drink because it's very still difficult. So if I start to peter out, you'll understand why, and hopefully you'll understand why I'm not my usual high energy
Objection, speculative.
that I like to be. But I wanted to get back into life as soon as possible. I literally have been sleeping since Wednesday night, except for this weekend when I had to, not good timing, compose a National Platform Committee survey, which takes about 10 hours to do, to prepare all the paperwork for and all of that. And then I awake today to find apparently a somewhat organized campaign to question my survey. Okay, if that's the biggest thing you have to complain about. The surveys are always never to anyone's 100% liking. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made, and I think the committee made the right ones. You're free, obviously, to not like it. You're also free not to take it. You're also free to send the comments you wish the committee to consider to myself or to another platform committee representative to pass on to us without your name being attributed. The biggest dispute we had was whether or not surveys were like elections and you should have your name attached to your answers. Now, I'm a big transparency person, as you know, but I don't think that's a transparency issue. And I had to fight tooth and nail in some instances to say, no, just because somebody answers, we're going to get into that, Diana. Just because someone answers a survey doesn't mean that their name should be exposed to the rest of the world. I know some people disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I think reasonable people can disagree. But that's what happened. But the funny thing is I'm being not accused isn't the right word, because nobody's really accused me, but the insinuation is out there that the opposite. No, your personally identifiable information will not be connected with your answers unless you sign your answers, in which case you've chosen to have them identified with them. But that's enough of that. I do have a few other personal things, so this is going to be a somewhat long intro since this is my first stream in a while. I meant to do this stream on the day I got diagnosed with COVID, which was Thursday. So it's been a bit. I planned it on Wednesday, was going to do it on Thursday. As most of you know, I was supposed to be in Kansas this weekend. I obviously canceled that because I am not going to be a spreader. I'm going to be staying home all weekend until I am sure that I am, A, well enough to go out and not contagious. Though I think I'm past the contagious point, I'm certainly not at the point where I'm well enough to go out. But what the problem is although, and I'm glad it ended up this way rather than the people in Kansas getting screwed. If anyone's going to get screwed, I'd rather me get screwed. But y'all can help me get unscrewed here. I'm going to tell you how in a minute. When it was decided that they had raised enough money for me to come to Kansas, I went ahead and bought the ticket saying, I'm going to just use some of my household money and you can pay me back. Then I got diagnosed with COVID. And I have no other flights planned for this year, but Southwest won't refund my money. They're holding it in a travel credit that I don't need because I'm not going anywhere else. I mean, if I'm blessed enough to be re-elected to the LNC, I could obviously use those travel funds now. But that was $400 that I needed for Reno, that I needed to get supplies for Reno. So guys, I'm in a pretty bad position right now when it comes to that. If you could help make up that shortfall, And super chats right now won't help because they won't get paid out until after Reno. So if you can help me make up that $400 just bad timing shortfall between the time that I was confirmed to go to Kansas and then I had to cancel because of COVID through GoFundMe. That link, I think it's coming up in my shameless screed right now. Trigger warning, shameless grifting ahead. Please support this. No, that's Patreon. No. I think I have support my campaign on here. If I don't, in your Reno reset gear, let me know, let me find the links where you can help me, because I played myself with this one, to be honest with you. It was really unavoidable, just really bad timing. Okay, let me find the links here. Okay, 1 second. I'm not as fast as I normally am right now. PayPal.me/Karen Ann Harlos. No, I will be in Wisconsin. I'll be perfectly well by then, Stephen. I'm going to get retested to make sure I'm a negative, but as you can tell with me streaming, I'm getting stronger each day. I will be in Wisconsin. That is not a no-go. I will be there. Okay? No worries about that. I'm glad you asked me directly, though, rather than worrying about it. No, I am in Wisconsin. So paypal.me/Karen Ann Harlos or Venmo at Karen-Harlos are the best ways that you can support my show, or also through my GoFundMe. And I don't think I have like a quick link for that, but maybe one of you guys can throw my GoFundMe link up on the screen. I really need to try to make up. It was, let's be exact, $364, not $400. And again, I'll be able to use that once I'm reelected, if I am reelected, to go to the first LNC meeting, so it's not like it will be wasted. But I really needed that to purchase things for Reno. I was like, fuck, that messed me up. Okay. I'm going to have some coughing. I'm glad you all are here participating with me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having you guys here with me after this bout of COVID. But boy, a lot has happened, and a lot has happened that you don't know. So a lot has happened that you don't know about this budget fiasco. So let's go back in time, shall we? And I may forget some facts since it's been a little while. It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? So was it Tuesday? Anyone remember? I'm trying to pull up those emails. Okay, that is Pink Flame of Liberty. I need my regular email address. Okay, let me... Yeah, the Venmo is at Karen Harlos. I thank you. And I know Tim, he wanted to... Let me look for the word equity, because I'm trying to go back to the beginning of when this started. And I know there was actually an email ballot started. And I'm wondering, you want to know what? I'm just going to pull up the Google groups because my email box is so cluttered right now from not looking at emails for a week, that is just not even funny. So, email groups, LNC business. Oh, by the way, you know these Mr. Transparency guys, and you know Mr. Phillips, I'm making up safety concerns because, yeah, that's not a misogynistic thing to say whatsoever. You know, they're still having secret discussions that they're not supposed to be having on the secret list. You know that Massachusetts appeal that we all wondered, no, we didn't, but that we all wondered on why they weren't talking about it on the list? Because they're talking about it on the secret list. There is zero, and I mean zero justification for them to be talking about this on the secret list. None. None. If you think these people, leopards, have changed their spots, you just have got another one coming. Okay, here's the line of credit. So Tim springs on people about, the ballot started on the 11th, so I think he started talking about this about on the 9th. To direct staff to establish a line of credit secured by the headquarters building at 1444 Duke Street for $250,000. This, and of course, my fraudulent replacement fucked up the motion when he made the email ballot. He said this line of credit will be drawn by $50,000 to fund the ballot access support encumbered by the executive committee. An additional $85,000 will be drawn and transferred to the LLCC for candidate support and the Frontier Project. We'll talk about the LLCC in one moment, shall we? And it would require a 2/3 vote. Because it's taking out a loan. Alrighty. And then, of course, everyone voted yes. And then a bunch of people changed their votes to no when they want the last four of my phone number. My phone number is public, 2250. My phone number is public everywhere. And I know people freak out and go, oh, you're going to get all kinds of spam calls. I've gotten one spam call in the 6 years I was on the LNC. Like, it's not as common as you'd like to think. Trolls tend to be cowards. But yeah, the last four of my phone number is 2250. Okay. Now, the part of the motion that my fraudulent replacement forgot to put in the motion, I don't know how. It's copy paste, dude. Like, I don't get it. It's a copy paste. Never mind. Part of the motion. Well, a loan and a line of credit. I know there's a difference. What I think they got is a HELOC. They ended up not getting it, by the way. But I think what was being proposed was a HELOC. A HELOC line of credit in which you wouldn't pay anything on if you didn't draw upon it. But since they were going to draw upon it immediately, I don't think it matters too much for our discussion. Okay, he started. Oh no, I forgot that the secretary did this. I'm trying to find the original trying to find on the original request for sponsors. Motion, line of credit. Okay, so here's how Tim Hagen started this. We're a bit tight on unrestricted cash. You mean this came as a surprise to you on April 11th? You didn't see this coming? Now, here's what's funny, is this party has Schrodinger's donors. You see, on one hand, all of these donors allegedly weren't donating because we had a mouthy pink-haired secretary. And remember how they crowed about how much better they were doing in donorship? The minute they got rid of me, though, if you looked at the graphs of the numbers, they were all from prior to them getting rid of me. Yeah, I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers too. And then now all of a sudden, now there's not enough cash because it's because of those evil Mises people. It's like no matter what the economic situation is, they make shit up. They can make one story up or the other. That's just the way it is. Just if you haven't noticed the shell game, Mama's noticed the shell game. And it's a shell game. And I thought Terra de Sisto was just this great fundraiser. Why are we a bit tight on unrestricted cash? Could that be because she tells donors who don't agree with her that words are violence, that they belong in another party? I mean, that could slightly be a reason. That they waited for her to quit and then kept her on board through March 31st, and then all of a sudden a letter goes out from the Libertarian Defense Fund and no one knows where they got these addresses from. I'm not saying it was from the national database. I don't know. I'm also not saying it's from the national database because I don't know. Let's just say that her behavior has been shitty enough that it's not unreasonable for people to think that she probably squirreled away from some data. Do I have proof of that? No. But it certainly wouldn't seem beneath her character. And that doesn't inspire donor confidence either. The minute you knew there was an issue with her, even if you said, okay, we accept your resignation as of March 31st, they should have cut her loose that minute. And in fact, if you didn't know, Colorado wrote the National Party and said, if you don't cut her loose this minute, we're not giving you another dime towards CRM report. And we haven't. We were giving them $95 a month to CRM support. But because they couldn't act act in a responsible manner with who was controlling our data, we withdrew our support because money is the only thing politicians understand. And make no doubt about it, the LNC is politicians, and I never use that word in a positive sense. So Colorado might give back the $100 a month after Reno, but we cut that shit off. We totally cut that shit off. But I suppose that's the mouthy pink-haired secretary's fault somehow. It's not their fault for being shitty LNC members. It's not their fault for letting a staff member run amok, call everyone she disagreed with racist and all kinds of names, and telling them they belong in another party. Meanwhile, she donated to Code Blue while on LNC payroll. Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. It can't be that. Anyway, we are a bit tight on unrestricted cash. Really. Pikachu face. The current cash on hand is $54,000. Pikachu face. The EC allocated $50,000 to ballot access. Unlike when I was Region 1, my predecessor, I'm a huge believer in ballot access, but I'm also a huge believer in you only spend money that you have. So you have $54,000 cash on hand. The EC allocated $50,000 of it to ballot access. I'm of the school, and I'm not great at it in my personal life, which is why I have firmly decided when it's my own money, I stink. When it's other people's money, I'm really good. I'm not having any credit cards at all because I'm not good with them. I am not good with credit cards. Mama needs to buy cash. So it says, and I don't have any credit cards right now because just doesn't work out. And when I lost my job, that just was turns into a snowball and, that sort of thing. I will eventually get them all paid off, but that doesn't mean I'm ever going to have them again. Me and credit cards do not work out. The EC allotted $50,000 of ballot access. All right, leaving us with $4,000. That does not seem like a wise decision to me. It does not. They could have fundraised for the $50,000 because people believe in ballot access. I didn't see all kinds of panicked fundraising outcries for ballot access. I saw at least one. There might have been a few more, but I didn't see all hands on deck to fundraise for ballot access. Did you? The monthly payroll, occupancy, and other recurring obligations are about $81,000. March donations recovered significantly from February and are estimated to be $133,000. Some portion of this shortfall may be donors buying convention upgrades rather than direct donations to the unrestricted account. And of course, I don't recommend with this LNC any direct donations to the unrestricted account. I've been telling people that ever since I discovered how bad they sucked. The COC, I don't discourage donations. I just say that you should earmark them. The COC reports that unless the convention is in the black, So it does appear that if the trends continue, the convention will release monies to the unrestricted funds at the end of May. We'll come back to that. The LNC has a couple of options to avoid cash crunches. Well, you had a lot of options before then, but of course this is like Nick, where he didn't tell us that Lauren Dougherty had resigned until there was like 2 weeks left, and then he made it an emergency and said we had to hire him for $75 an hour. And I was like, your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency on my part. Well, right now, Dave, apparently the current cash on hand is $54,000 with $50,000 of it spoken for. It says the LNC has a couple of options to avoid cash crunches. The credit card company charges 9.15 interest to carry a balance. Now that the headquarters building is paid off, we can use the building as collateral for a line of credit. The interest rate for a $250,000 line of credit will be 1.5 to 2% plus prime. So it's variable interest rate. He neglected to note here, but we found out later that it was going to be about $3,500 to get the loan in closing costs and things like that. So he sought a motion to get the $250,000, use the first $50,000 for ballot access, another $85,000 drawn and transferred to the LLCC for candidate support in the Frontier Project. Listen, I love the Frontier Project. Bert is a fantastic candidate. But that's not to say there's no warts. The Wyoming Party is completely owned by the Frontier Project right now. It had a secret convention. It operates completely opaquely, let's put it that way. So there's some issues. Now I'm concerned about the transparency of the LLCC. Because guess who's on the board of the LCC? The only person I know so far. Laura Epke. Same old players. The same old players. So it's like their little wish list. Their little wish list projects are getting paid for in the twilight of this LNC. An additional $50,000 is authorized to be drawn on the direction of the Executive Committee without further action of the LNC, as a reserve if needed. So, the secret committee. Now, allegedly the Executive Committee isn't secret, but have you ever seen their emails? I haven't seen the emails. They use this committee to have secret discussions that are in the gray area. They have secret votes. They have secret discussions. They're supposed to notice every single executive committee meeting. I'll get the dates, but my fraudulent replacement has not noticed every single one. He has noticed some of them. He has not noticed all of them. Now, fortunately, after all of this, we learned some interesting things, though. Once the hoo-ha-ha happened over this, we found out some interesting things. We found out that this had been discussed privately amongst LNC members for a while now. But not all LNC members. They left Joshua Smith out of the discussion on purpose. And then it seems at some point they cut Rich Bowen out of the discussion. And I know Richard Longstreth, who I'm sorry has turned into the biggest TWAT I have seen in a long time. He's like, it's no different than when Rich Bowen workshopped that Massachusetts motion off list. He didn't workshop that with other LNC members, Richard. He workshopped it with me, not any other LNC members. Plus, when it comes to things that only involve your region, and you already know that you're going to have opposition, you want to get the wording right. It's not uncommon to workshop things with a few people. But when it's almost the entire LNC, but you exclude only a couple of people, no, that's the old boys bullshit club, and you know it. I don't care how much you massage it, and you huff and puff, and Mr. Longstreth. I don't give a shit. You are the worst, Richard. So no, you are barking up the wrong tree with Rich Bowen. He workshopped it. Me, Pat, and obviously you expect a alternate in their regional to work together. And him. That was it. Not this long, extended, secret conversation you guys had. When you're talking about mortgaging the party fucking property, you asshole, you have that discussion in front of the whole party. The fact that you even justify that is just so gross. So they left out a few people, and then when things weren't going their way because Rich Bowen wasn't going along with it, they kept him out of the conversation too. So by the time this motion made the list, it was different than some of the people saw it, and they were surprised by it. And the rest of us, we were all surprised by it. They ambushed the party and fellow LNC members, but more importantly, they ambushed the party. And then you got Chris Lucchini, who voted on it without even asking his region. And then after I caused a fuss, he polled his region. And you want to know how he started his poll? He started his poll. Well, I thought it would be relatively uncontroversial. Well, dude, if you thought borrowing $250,000 against our property when we just fundraised our ass off on the whole idea of having a fully paid off building would not be controversial, and how that isn't borderline fucking fraud. Well, I already know you're incompetent to be on this committee, but this is just further proof. But guess what else, sweethearts, I found out? one reason why he thought this was just so non-controversial. Mr. I had an illegal convention and didn't give proper notice. No, I'm not going to let you live down that. Your convention this year, not your illegal constitutional convention, that was bad enough. Your actual convention, where you elected delegates, was completely illegal. You did not provide proper notice on your website. And I know you'll try to squirrel out of it because you are the king of the squirrels, and I don't mean that in a Scientology sense. We did a video on it, baby. All of the dates and the video of the LP New Mexico website are all on my channel, date and time stamped, where we can absolutely, unutterably prove you did not give notice for your convention. Well, the reason he thought it was so non-controversial is it was his idea. This whole thing was Lucchini's idea, and he never once asked Region 1 until after it was too late. Libertarian against lynching. Actually, there was proper notice on the executive committee. I would love to say there wasn't, but there was. There was though. Excuse me. There was proper notice of the executive committee. I can explain further. Well, let me just do it now. Our policy manual says 2 days notice. And when counting notice, I forget which day you don't count. You don't count one of the days. You either don't count the day that notice was given, or you don't count the day the meeting's actually on. It's one of those two you don't count, but it all works out the same. And as long as you have 2 days there, which they did have, it's valid notice. The notice requirement isn't 48 hours. It's 2 days. If it was 48 hours, it would have been short by 7 minutes. But it wasn't 48 hours. It was 2 days. On that one point, for once, and the heavens opened up and the angels sang, on that one point, I agree with Whitney Bilyeu. She's right on that particular point. So, after all of this hullabaloo, then they decide, oh, well, maybe we should have a public meeting on this. I don't know. Maybe you should have had a public meeting on this first. But, you know, those peasants, they're so pesky. They have opinions and shit. So then we got to see the total circus of them stepping over each other's clown shoes in order to set a meeting. And the party chair just puts the kibosh on everything. Oh, this day's not good for me. Oh, this day's not good for me. Oh, this day's not good for me. Well, too bad, princess. That's what you have a vice chair for. And then she calls Richard Longstreth's motion out of order, saying you require 7 days notice for a meeting. No, you don't. Hello. Like, just another example that you don't know the rules, which just shocks me. It's 5 days notice. After I brought it up at a meeting, yeah, there have been other EC meetings where there wasn't proper notice. But on those, when I say proper notice, I'm going to be very careful there. There was proper notice given. Well, maybe there were. I don't even know. I'm assuming there was proper notice given to the EC members, but there wasn't notice given to the members, the general membership. The general membership is not entitled to the same rights and time frames as the rest of the membership, but they do have a right to know, and they were never told. That was my complaint. I wasn't ever trying to make the argument that any actions taken were null and void, because I'm sure in their own little secret group they gave notice. My concern was notice to the members. Executive committee is not exempt from the notice requirement, Richard. We looked it up. Even Whitney looked it up. It's 2 days. Not that I care, because I'm not. And if I'm wrong on that, I'll be gladly corrected. But Whitney looked it up. I looked it up. Let's look it up now. Why not? Because I'd like to know if I'm right, because I'm really not feeling well. My concern is that members are told it's happening. We've had a big, and if you're wondering why I'm so hot on this, we had a big problem in the past. Now we're going way, way back, where the executive committee would meet constantly and cut the LNC out. And we're always concerned that that's going to happen again, though that isn't what's happening right now. But that's why people get so upset about it. Yeah, we're going to talk about the LCC. Let me see here. I'm trying to find the notice requirements. Yeah, you're correct. Do not apply to the executive committee. I didn't even see that. Thank you, Richard. But I'm not feeling well. That's why I believed you. When you said it and you were so sure, I'm like, he's got to be right. He wouldn't be so sure. But I never really was concerned about the making things null and void. I was more concerned about members at least knowing these meetings were going on. Even if they were only told like a few minutes before. But there were a couple meetings. We found out when minutes were released, and we were like, what? Has anyone answered Dustin Nana's question about the LLCC? Not so far. I'm making sure here. Here's Dustin Nana's question. What's the current makeup of the LLC board, and how is the committee structured? What is the FEC designation committee type? It's funny that none of this was included in the motion that I remember. And I wish I could tell you that, Dave Davis, but there's a reason I can't tell you that, and I'll tell you that why in a minute, and it's because of my fraudulent replacement. The best secretary in the world. One second here. Why do I keep going to the wrong thing? Let me go back. Well, Richard Brown, you're seeing a policy manual. I'm not seeing, because the last policy manual that's on our website is dated November. Oh, you're talking about meetings, not the LLCC. I wish I could give you that answer, Dave Davis, but, my fraudulent replacement has not seen fit to update the policy manual since November. So I can't tell you that. But I can pull up the minutes I did for December, even though I didn't have to, allegedly, but I still consider myself secretary, so I did minutes. Let me look up what the motion was. So let's look up list of LNC meetings, because you're not going to find these meeting minutes on the website. Because God forbid the secretary actually posts meetings. You want to know when the last meetings were posted? In September, when I was last secretary. Yeah. You think they wouldn't have been saying shit about this if it were me? This fucking LNC is such a joke. Okay, let me look up those minutes. Because that's all we have is the unofficial minutes. Because even though it's been 4 months, we don't have minutes from the secretary. We have draft 2, I think, in which David Dassing still appears. But that's it. Okay, here we go. It was added to section .209 of the policy manual. Libertarian National Congressional Committee and Libertarian Legislative Campaign Committee. The party shall act in good faith with the Libertarian National Committee and the Libertarian Legislative Campaign Committee, and the chair and staff are directed to encourage and develop a symbiotic relationship by fully cooperating in activities and coordinating efforts, including the sharing of constituent information, so as to achieve our mutual goal of supporting libertarian candidates. That's all it says. That's it. It doesn't say give them money. It doesn't say how their board will be constituted. It doesn't say anything about transparency. It says nothing. It seems a bit suspicious to me. So let's go to the webpage. Okay, they do have a webpage. Looks like the same webpage for the Congressional Committee from a long time ago. It's based out of Indiana. I mean, it could be great for all I know. I just don't know anything about it. Let's look at where's the directory? Okay, the chairman's Mark Rutherford. The executive, looks like this is all Indiana. And it looks like it's the same people that were on the Congressional Committee. You're going to recognize some of these names. And I'm not besmirching any of these people. I just don't know anything about this. I want to know how they were elected. And it is a kind of a pass-through committee to get around things. It's not like I think there's anything necessarily nefarious going on here. It's just, this is all happening behind closed doors. So the chairman's Mark Rutherford. Evan McMahon, who I adore, is the executive director. The treasurer is Aaron Starr. The secretary is Alicia Matson, and the donor rep is Emily Bang. Now, I was told Laura Epke was on this board, but I don't see that here anywhere. So whoever told me that's going to have to show me, because I don't see that here. No. That's the LNCC. That's not the LLCC. That's what I was going to say. This looked awful like the LNCC. Never mind. I can't find the LLCC. And Alicia has been the secretary on the LNCC forever. Like, how are these positions ever changed? Yeah, I don't think that's the same one either, Zach. You help me find it? I can't find it anywhere. You sent me a link on Twitter. Let me pull up Twitter. Here's the registration. It's a Wyoming domestic nonprofit. Wyoming Figures. Which is, very opaque right now. On March 15th, the registered agent, I'm not going to name names of people that aren't directly involved with the LNC. The contacts are, there's that one name. There's a few different names here, but Laura Epke is on it. This is all we know about it. But how is this formed? I'm not saying this is bad, but it's so opaque. How are these people elected? So we're giving money. So Laura Epke was voting to divert $85,000 away from our building into a campaign committee that she's a principal on. Doesn't that seem a little bit suspicious to anyone but me? Is it just me and my suspicious mind here? Or does that seem does that seem a little wrong to somebody else besides me? Help a woman out here. Like, what's going on here? And after all of this, they had a meeting Monday. And our outcry ahead of time worked. Don't ever think it doesn't work. They are no longer taking a loan out in the building. They are taking a loan out, though. Well, loan, line of credit. I'm using those two words interchangeably. They're carrying a balance, and I think it's with the credit card. I wasn't there. I'm willing to be corrected here. And $35,000 is going now to the Frontier Project. I don't know if it's going to the LLCC or the Frontier Project, or whether those two things are functionally the same thing right now. And ballot access. Now here's my question on ballot access. Yeah, Epke not seeking re-election but gets a cushy seat. That seems wrong to me. It all seems... There were some good names on those lists, on that list. The names I didn't read out. People I'm not going to associate with bad people. I just chose not to read out certain names. You can go look it up yourself. The only real suspicious one on there was Laura Epke, as a current LNC member. Okay, thank you, Richard Brown, because I wasn't at the meeting. So they have a line of credit secured by equipment, not the building. I'm not so sure I'm too happy about that either. I guess they felt okay about that because they hadn't just recently done a fundraiser. They didn't need to take out $35,000. for the pet project in which Laura Epke's on the board. And on the ballot access, I have a lot of questions. They just had an executive committee meeting the other night about New York and Alabama ballot access. But they didn't invite the chairs from those states to the meeting. That was unheard of before. And everyone got all real defensive about that. Did you see that on the list? How defensive everyone got when Rich Bowen rightly pointed out that the New York State chair wasn't invited to that meeting? There was another LNC member on that list. Did I miss them? Who? Put it in chat, Zach. As you can tell, I'm not 100% on my A game tonight, so I do need all of y'all to help me out here. I don't remember seeing another LNC member on that list. I saw a couple candidates, not LNC candidates, public office candidates, and I'm not going to embarrass them. Chris Lucchini, oh my God. I am so fucking not surprised. Dirty as they come. Dave Davis, they changed their mind at the beginning, apparently, and now are securing it with equipment. So Chris Lucchini, oh my God, Zach, I gotta see that. Where is that at? Hold on, let me do a word search. If this... Oh my God, you are so right. How fucking dirty is this? People, just step back a second. Just really step back a second and tell me how dirty, or at least the appearance of dirt is. Chris Lucchini, in private, starts a discussion in which he stands to personally benefit by controlling $85,000 behind the back of multiple LNC members. And he just happens to be on the board that would receive that largesse. Something doesn't seem very fishy here to you? My God. Okay, I promise you one thing. If I have anything to do with it in the future, Chris Lucchini will not be anywhere near that. You have my fucking word. Now, while I have my issues with Laura Epke, I think her principles, I think her principles blow with the wind. I don't think she's dirty. I think Chris Lucchini is dirty as fuck. And the LNC should not be giving one red cent to something he's involved in. He had 2 illegal conventions to try to keep control of the New Mexico Party. And this is what we're rewarding? Holy shit. No wonder he didn't. He never disclosed that, by the way, to Region 1. Never. But I have a YouTube channel. Do you remember the crocodile? Do you remember the faux outrage he had? That I had a YouTube channel that was monetized that I didn't disclose to people? Allegedly, but I did. Go read my disclosures. and he's not disclosing this to other people. The fucking hypocrisy. My God, Chris Lucchini, you are a gross person. I do not want Chris Lucchini anywhere near Colorado ever again. So, they finally decided that they were going to take out $50,000 for the ballot access. And again, I have a lot of questions on that. Is that going to do it? And you've heard the wailing and moaning from some of the LNC members. Oh, people are claiming we're just running out the cash box before we get thrown out on our asses. But how will it look if we leave the next LNC without ballot access? Bitch, do you think I don't already know New York doesn't have ballot access? And Alabama? It's not that you're leaving them with none. They already had none. Child, please. And then John Phillips thinks he's fucking cute. You want to know what John Phillips does because he thinks he's cute and he's not? He goes, I'm going to give you guys a history lesson. Oh, really, John? You're going to give the historian a history lesson? I can't wait. Yeah, I can. And he gives the history on how the LNC used to raid the cookie jar when it came to convention committee proceeds. And that we aren't doing that this year, and that's why there's a shortfall. So you didn't plan for it. Is that what you're saying, John? You should have planned for it. And you didn't tell anybody that that same policy manual provision allows itself to be overridden. Why didn't you guys consider overriding that policy manual provision rather than getting this extra money for Chris Lucchini's little pet project? I'll tell you why. Because Alicia Matson came in and straightened your asses out. She told you about how much you can expect to make from this convention. That is, if you don't do something stupid like canceling a popular convention speaker and causing a bunch of people to ask for refunds. Now, will they? I don't know, but maybe they would. Listen, if any LNC can turn a profitable convention into an unprofitable one, y'all can do it. I have faith in you. Or how about, say, going open wide and shoving porcupine down our throats? Yeah, this is exactly the sort of thing you want to be doing when you want to have a profitable convention. You guys just suck. But don't dare call anyone a beta bitch. Don't ever. See, he's allowed to say that if you call someone a beta bitch, it might drive them to self-harm. He's allowed to say that. I could never say that. Aaron Adams is suspiciously quiet. You see, if I were a mean person, I could have made a shit ton of money just making beta bitch t-shirts. But I ain't that kind of bitch. I'm a different kind of bitch. Not a beta bitch either. I be an alpha bitch. Crazy, isn't it? But isn't it crazy that the total amount of money they decided to spend is exactly the amount that Alicia told them they can expect to make? Because they want to spend every bit of income. The whole idea of that little history lesson, John, that you thought you were so fucking cute for telling us. was so that the incoming LNC would have money. But y'all made that impossible, didn't you? You guys just suck. So, it turns out they spent exactly $85,000, which just coincidentally seems to be the number that Alicia Matson suggested. I'm not trying to involve Alicia in this. She was just providing data. See, that's why the LNC doesn't like me making these videos, because I connect a bunch of dots together that they know most people are too busy to like sit and want to think about. And I don't blame you. Unlike me, you've got lives. But when one person does it in a little bit of an entertaining manner, makes it worth listening to, all of a sudden the peasants are educated, and we can't have that. Oh, and thank you. I forgot to thank. I'm sorry. My mind just totally got boop boop. Thank you, Dave Davis, for this super chat. I super appreciate it. And thank you, James, for the compliment on the survey. I've caught a lot of crap for it, believe it or not. And it's like, can't win for losing sometimes. And I spent a lot of, that took a lot of effort because I had to put it together when I was super sick. And to like link everything properly. Oof, my head was pounding. It was a lot of work. I'm glad at least one person enjoyed it. And apparently SurveyMonkey servers have been flipping out a little bit and like kicking people out of the survey halfway, which does not make me happy. So that's where we're at. They spent $85,000, which just happens to be every single penny they think the convention will make. It's just nasty people. And it's, what date is it? Hold on. I'm Libertarian against lynching. I'm not going to say anything bad about my committee. They propose what they will propose. I'm not going to say anything bad about what they proposed. I stand behind what my committee's work does, as a good chair will do. And more than half of them are the exact same proposals from 2 years ago, so you might want to check your memory a little bit. I'm not trying to be like a smarty pants. I think that came off a little bitchy. I'm sorry. More than half of the proposals are the exact same proposals from 2 years ago. Because they agreed to revisit them all. I think that's it. Am I done? Oh. So today's the 20th. I was going to say, today's Easter. It's also April 20th. And, what else? The deadline. Good. I'm glad to hear that I'm enjoyable. So the deadline for the Credentials Committee for you to submit at least one delegate, which of course was never explained why that is, but I understand why. But is coming up in less than a week. And the Credentials Committee still doesn't have its crap together. And when I asked Susan about it, at first she was polite, and then she got belligerent. And it's like, well, if Colorado's chair has questions about it, Colorado's chair can just ask me. Well, Susan, Ms. Hogarth, I've been asked to ask you by Colorado's chair, who is CC'd here. So no matter how much your little feels might be impacted by having to talk to me, if you can't do it, get somebody who will. The baby bullshit. You would hope it was professionals we were dealing with. Just so you know how it's supposed to go, the country's supposed to be divided up. Very often it's into the same regions we already have. And each state in that area is supposed to be given a credentials liaison. And it's not the chair. It's not the credentials chair. He or she is supposed to be overseeing everything. I already had the link, Libertarians Against Lynching. It was sent to the state chairs. And it still has Emily Salvet's name on it, which is... Emily hasn't been convention committee's chair since 2016. Yeah, Ned, when I asked Susan on behalf of Colorado for certain answers to certain questions, she goes, well, I prefer to speak through words. And I go, well, that's really cute, but Colorado prefers actual answers in writing. It's the silly games that are being played. You would think this is kindergarten. As I've said, one person who doesn't let personalities, likes, dislikes, whatever get in the way is Erin Adams. She's the only one out of all of them. The rest of them act like children. All right, I think that's it. I didn't do any of my sponsorships tonight because my voice wasn't right. This is my first stream back. I appreciate everyone's assistance in that just really weird, unfortunate, like, if only I had waited 4 hours to buy the tickets that originally were going to be bringing me to Kansas, I wouldn't be in this situation. You missed the whole beginning of this, Ned. But I had to get them right away because there was only one ticket left. Southwest doesn't do refunds. And because who the heck thought I was going to be diagnosed with COVID in that period of time? So I just floated convention money for it, figuring that, I'd end up getting reimbursed by the fundraiser that was done in Kansas. And then I had to cancel everything. And I got $364 worth of credit with Southwest. That's not going to do me a shit ton of good for Reno. It really, really screwed me up badly. Like really, really badly. I'll be able to use it in the future. obviously, but I needed it for Reno. All right, everyone, I hope you have an awesome night. And now that I'm back in the saddle, hopefully it's a little bit of an improvement each day. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Maybe some history. We need to do some catching up on that. And, yeah, I'm super sorry I can't be in Kansas, but it's better that everyone is safe and that I just don't, I don't drag myself into an early grave. That would be nice. All right, bye-bye, everyone.
Gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.